Man up now, man up.
I'm KD Bowe. Time now for your man up moment. The example that you set, the impact that you have on society, your house, your community goes beyond what you say. Hear me. Goes beyond what you say. St. Francis of Assisi said this: preach the gospel at all times. When necessary, use words. Probably heard that before. Thought your pastor said it. He didn't. St. Francis of Assisi said it. But what it means is this: it's not just about preaching a sermon or speaking a sermon. It's about being the sermon. If I were deaf and couldn't hear you, I should still be able to understand your sermon and your message loud and clear. I should know who you are without question, crystally clear. So my brother, in this man up moment, I want to suggest that the meat of your message should be in your actions. And your words should simply be the icing on top that confirms it. For weekly motivation, text the word brothers to 56525. Man up. Ladies and gentlemen, that dude, Travis Greene. What up, man?
What's up, family? How are you, man?
I'm good, man. I've been wanting to have this conversation for a while because you're a unique brother. You're a unique brother. I've been kind of watching your moves a little bit, and just, I don't know, man, you stand out. And I was talking with Todd Dulaney one day, and I was just clowning with him. I was like, man, all you singers that play the guitar are just alike. Then in the back of my mind, I was like, no, actually, you're not. All of you, you're definitely different. Yeah. So let's jump right into this, man. So as a child, like what kind of child were you, Travis?
Energetic, man, full of energy. I had a passion for music. Tragedy struck early for me in life. When I was 5, my dad died. He was 28. And so from there, I just gained this love for music, man. And my mom bought me my first keyboard, which I actually still own. It's over here in my studio on the side.
Is it Casio?
It is a Yamaha, man. It's a Yamaha. I'm gonna grab it. This is my first ever keyboard, man.
Oh yeah, so y'all was rich, because most black people had a Casio, but you. Oh.
That's it. That's where it all started, right here.
Bro, you can still play that now.
I know, right? So I plugged that in, and I learned how to play off of the great John P. Key, man. I studied all of his music, and that's how I learned how to play. It's a true story.
Wow. Good stuff, man. So
that was my childhood. I was really passionate. I love music.
So as a kid, you were very energetic. Where were you raised?
So 2 places. After my father died, like I said, he died when he was 28. He was military. So the first 4 years of my life were in Germany, and then we moved to Georgia. So I was predominantly raised in 2 cities in Georgia: Columbus, Georgia, and Warner Robins, Georgia.
Right.
So when we moved to Warner Robins, started to attend in a church called Beulah Land Baptist Church, and they had a young pastor. It's his first time ever pastor, and goes by the name of E. Dewey Smith Jr. So I'm 12 years old, and he was my pastor, and he probably was 25, I guess, 26, and at the time. And so that was my pastor as a kid, and riding to Macon from Warner Robins, listening to KD Bowe on the lights. Y'all don't know about that. But that really helped also just like spark my love for gospel music, man. It was everything for me growing up.
Yeah. So, but you don't have Columbus, Georgia on you. When I look at you and I hear you and I watch you move, you don't have Columbus, Georgia on you. You do not have Warner Robins on you. What is that?
I don't know, man. I think I do though. I think I have a little bit of both of them in me. I think it's Columbus was urban, so it was super. Where I grew up at, Holly Hills off of St. Mary's Road, was all, was black. I mean, we had like one white guy in my class. His name was Troy Bartlett, and so that was, early childhood. That was elementary years. And then from there to Warner Robins, we were the only black people on our street, the area we moved in Warner Robins. And so, and I basically became Troy Bartlett. I became the one black guy in the classroom, or the smartest black guy in the classroom. So I think that influence really, I understand black culture, but I also have an understanding for white culture and having to survive, when in Rome kind of thing. So that's where the Warner Robins is really my influence for like skateboarding and roller skating, and just all of that stuff came from, I mean, they wanted to play street hockey. They didn't want to play throw up tackle, you know. They didn't want to play basketball. They want to play street hockey. So it's like, well, if I want to play, I got to learn their game. So I think that's why when people see me, it's like, man, you really have this California-ish thing about you, but it's Georgia all day. It's just two sides of the tracks.
Yeah. Okay. All right. That's good, man. Because I think you put a pin in it. Kind of what I'm thinking. I'm thinking more eclectic.
Yeah.
Like I'm Southern. Like
Yeah.
I'm borderline country. You know. So but that's some good stuff. Did you feel different growing up, or did you kind of feel like, I'm just one of the regular cats?
I felt creative, but I felt like one of the guys, I felt creative. I always had this thing in me that I kind of just knew that I was called to do something pretty big. It was spoken over me, as a child, and prophesied to me. So it wasn't really a secret. So I'm not surprised by anything that's happened in my life. I'm grateful, but we saw it coming, and I tried to spend especially my 20s to prepare for what all God was going to do. And so I took a lot of time to study and just learn how to manage things. Growing up without a dad, I wasn't really taught how to manage resources and how to steward stuff like that. And so I really took time and did the legwork first to just learn, dig in before everything kind of popped off in my life. So, but yeah, I think it's both ends. Like I felt like I was one of the guys, I could clown. I'm a Georgia boy, so you know how we do. We could clown with the best of them. You come, you better come. You know what I mean? So you learn that from just the streets of how to like keep up, and so I that's why I kind of gained my humor. But my difference was my creative edge. So I will always, I spent more time on the keyboard than I did doing anything else. I spent more time creating and like that was just a passion of mine. Even in college, while Cass was clubbing, I was creating. And so I think that was my difference.
You were introvert?
Nah.
No?
No.
You sure?
Yeah, man. I'm only introvert moments of my life is when I'm creating. So if I'm creating, I'm locked in, I'm focused. If I'm building a message, I'm locked in, I'm focused. But I love people, I love noise, I love, like, I do just energy. Like I am actually, the person you see on stage is who I am in life. Like I'm just hyped all the time. But when I'm trying to create something, that's when I kind of lock in.
I think I'm a introverted extrovert. Because I do most of my good thinking. I need to be by myself.
Yeah, for sure.
And a message, creating, writing. I got to be in my head.
Yeah.
I love to be around people. When I want to be around people, I'll have a good time. And when I want to party, have a good time, I'm probably going to shut it down because you'd probably be embarrassed. So let's
I'm probably 80-20. I'm probably 80-20. Like 80% extrovert. I want the big energy. I want whatever. 20% like introvert. Like same to you. I get in a zone. When I'm creating, I get in a whole zone that I hate to be interrupted. And so that's when I lock in.
How long did it take your wife to understand not to interrupt you during your creative moments?
She still don't understand. Nah, she'll pop up in here, in a heartbeat. I'm in the zone. She know, like, if I'm like locked, like if I'm laying vocals, she like, okay, but I'll warn her before, like, babe, I'm about to be, really, really tracking. But if I'm just like making a track or something, nah, she'll bring all three of them boys down here. They'll jump on me, little man to jump on the drums, so. Nah.
Okay. One final question before I pivot. You talked about hearing me on the radio down there and what have you, which when I interviewed you the first time, I was shocked. Like, you was like, yo, man, I listened to you on the radio, man. You're the reason why I got into this. I'm like, well, first of all, stop. You ain't got to say that, dog. I like you anyway. You ain't got to put no sauce on it. Tell me about that. And how big was the radio culture in what Rob was making during that time?
Massive, man. It was, I think those were the glory days because, like, it didn't even matter who you were. It didn't matter. Like, you listened to, I can't even remember, but I know it was The Light. I don't remember the station. I know it was 93.7 WIBB was hip hop. 90, oh man, I feel like it was 91 point something the light. But it was so, I mean, this is 24 years ago. You know, this is 23 years ago.
Oh,
It's just,
crazy.
yeah.
You all the way back. You're right. That's crazy.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is a real thing. Like, this ain't like play. Like, Katie Bowe was like Jordan. You know, I mean, I take you back to, I mean, I don't even know if you get, like, credit for this, but you created, like, you put Jonathan Slocum on. And I don't think people really know that. Like, that's, so I'm not blowing smoke. Like, I'm really telling you the real. Like, this was, like, life for me. Like, you was like, yo, y'all not ready for this? Like, you were the first that I know of in gospel radio to put, like, a comedian. It was like Fred Hammond, Jonathan Slocum. You know what I'm saying? It was like his whole special was, like, ingrained into our culture. And what made it so big and massive was, like, the ball players at the school are people who weren't even, like, churchy. Like, they knew the songs that you put out. You know what I'm saying? We would be on the way to, like, a game or something. And it's like everybody knew Kirk. Everybody knew Fred. Everybody knew what was hot. And so, yeah, it was a real thing. It was a very, very influential moment in my life. That's why it's not smoke for me. Like, it's real deal. It was the moments in my life that really kind of transformed my love, and, like, man, that's what I want to do.
Yeah. I fell in love with radio. I was syndicated at the time. Of course, I lived in Atlanta, and I was on in 50 cities. Of course, Macon, Warner Robins was one of them. And it was a blessing, man, to just kind of see the impact of what radio can do. I like radio now.
Yeah.
I loved radio then because it was different. The cultures change.
Yeah.
You're not interviewing me, I'm interviewing you. So let me
No,
go.
No. I'm here for all this, man. Because, like I said, this is what formed me. You know what I mean? When people ask, like, these are the moments in my life, in my childhood that were the most impactful in terms of what I do.
Yeah.
Sure.
So no dad in the home since 5 years old.
Mm-hmm.
How do you show up now as a father not having that template?
Oh man, grace. Grace, man. I mean, it's all God, man. I think one thing that God has really blessed me with is a trait that I thought was normal, but it's not. And it's being self-aware. I'm extremely self-aware. And so it's not a normal trait, man. But my wife is as well. And so we learned early on, we're in our 9th year of marriage, but we learned early on how to communicate and, like, hey man, I need more of this, or it'd be great for the boys if you did more of this or whatever. And so just trying to adjust, man. Just trying to be present. I think the absence of a father really, I think it positively, like, impacted me to, like, I know how fragile life is. You know what I'm saying? So my oldest just turned 6, and his whole year as age 5 was, like, surreal for me, because it was like, this is who I was when my dad died, you know? So I'm reliving it kind of through him. And so there's 6, 3, and 1. And I think for me, the positive of it is, man, like, I know, like, life is fragile, dude. It's quick, man. And so I try to make the most of it. I try to be present in the moments. I don't think I'm the greatest dad or I think my wife is the greatest mom. But, I maybe when they turn, like, 2 is when I start kind of, like, liking them. Before then, it's like, here, you know, so.
So fast forward. So you've had different seasons. So were you someone that always had means when you got married? Or was it like you had to go through those seasons?
Oh, yeah, we went through those seasons.
Turn right.
Oh, man. So I was kind of born with a silver spoon, you know. I mean, we weren't like ball and shot calling, but we were definitely amongst, in my high school, we were amongst, you know, the I guess you could say, like, the wealthy Black families. So
in the mean suburbs of Warner Robins.
In the suburbs of Warner Robins, man. So we're cool, man. We're chilling, you know, all your military benefits, you know, never really wanted for nothing. You know, Christmas is great, all of that stuff. So I never really desired anything. I go through college, I get a job. I went to Georgia Southern University. And then my first job out of college is as a youth pastor and a minister of music at a church in Warner Robins. So I get hired by a guy who now I call my godfather, David Clark, amazing man, hires me right out of college. And So I'm making pretty good money, for a 22-year-old, really good money for a 22-year-old. And so I make that, I buy a house in Warner Robins. I'm like doing my thing. Life is good. I'm like, oh man, well, I guess this is it. I'm just going to kind of ride off and see whatever. And I'll give you this analogy real quick because it's helped me. It's one thing that my pastor told me. Whenever you're standing on a mountaintop and you can see another mountain, it's beautiful, right? And you're like, man, that's beautiful. I'm seeing nature or whatever. But the only way to get to that other mountaintop is you have to go down the mountain you're on and go through a valley in order to come up on top of another mountain. And so a lot of people look in seasons in their lives and yeah, we get hyped up over faith to faith, glory to glory. And it's like, yo, man, I'm going, like, I'm gonna conquer something else. And the only way that you could get on top of that mountain is you got to be willing to go down for a season and, be snatched back like a bow and arrow to be launched higher, faster. And so for me, that was the season after that, right? So I'm living life, blah, 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 Warner Robins. And God's like, yo, like I felt like God told me, very loud and clear, hey, your season is up on that job. No backup plan. So I was like, putting my notice, like, Pastor, I feel like God's telling me to like step away. And it's like, whoa, it blindsided everybody. So I did that. And I don't know, I think somewhere in the back of my mind, I thought that the music thing was gonna pop off quicker than it did. It didn't. And so long story short, probably a year later or so, he gave me another instruction to move to North Carolina. Very limited contacts there, but I felt like it was a word from God. So I did it. I left everything in Georgia. I either left or lost everything. And just dead broke. I'm talking about broke.
Were you married at the time?
It was right before I got married. So yeah, I was broke. Our rent was $530 on my apartment. That's how much the rent was. So me and my roommate had to get $265 a piece to be able to pay rent. And that was so I mean it was a broke season. I mean, this is my first time, I guess, basically living in what some would describe as like the hood. I mean, dope boys. It wasn't like violence or nothing, but I mean it was in the poverty type of area, this apartment complex that I was in North Carolina, and just trusting God. But that was the most necessary season of my life, and then I come right out of that and get married. I was there when my wife and I got serious. We had been dating for a few years off and on, but we got serious in 2010, and I was still there, and I still didn't really have much. We would go to the dollar movie, we would eat, Wendy's. That was our fancy meal. I mean, I didn't have anything. And then we got engaged at 11, and things started turning a little bit. I started getting a little more opportunities, just a little bit. I got another job. I got a job in Charlotte, North Carolina at a church. So that gave us some stability. We still weren't balling. It was still kind of check to check, but it gave us some stability. And that lasted, I mean, all the way. All this stuff for me is kind of new. I mean, things kind of taken off. Probably 2014 is when we had my son, the Made Away baby. And that's when RCA signed me. And then, 2015 is when really everything really kind of started taking off. And it's been me trying to catch up with the momentum for the past, 6 years. But that's really what, that's how it happened, man. So yeah, we started from the bottom, baby. We was broke down on the side of the road. My wife and I, married, broke down, all of that, my mother-in-law had to buy our kitchen table, it was all of that kind of stuff. And furniture, kind of hand-me-down furniture, some IKEA stuff. We just made it work. And
everybody has some.
It was it was the season we were in, man. And we made the most of it. And I think that's where God really built my character, though. If not for that season, man, I would have mismanaged where I'm at. I would lack the gratitude, number one. Number two, I would lack grit. I think that season taught me that it don't come easy. And the reason I kind of gave you my backstory, it wasn't to bore you or the listeners, but to let you know, like, really, I had to get delivered from this mentality of thinking that money grew on trees, because that's how I was kind of born. I never saw like the grind, I never saw what it took. And so I thought, and then right out of college, I get money. So I thought it was easy. I was like, oh, life is easy. Like, people out here talking about they struggling, like this is easy. And then when I had nothing, I learned how, man, difficult it is to build your finance, to build your credit, and it taught me discipline. It taught me grit. It taught me hard work, and it made me a better man. So vital season in my life, man. I'm not who I am without that season.
Man. I'm glad you shared it, man. I'm not bored at all, man. This is a blessing. So your wife's a doctor?
Yeah, she's a dentist. Yeah.
Okay. Dentist, doctor.
Yeah.
All the same thing to me.
Yeah. She is. She's a doctor of dentistry.
So what was it about you that she said, has she ever told you why she stuck with you through those lean years?
Yeah, I mean, she was still in school, right? So dental school is an additional 4 years after undergrad. And I'm 3 years older than her. So I was out of college and she was in college, and in undergrad. And then in my broke years, she was in dental school still. And then, I didn't even know how much dentists get paid. I didn't know none of that stuff. I was seeing dental school. She's real smart. And then she was like, like we get paid like a lot of money. And I was like, what's a lot of money? She was like, several hundreds. I was like, what? I hit the jackpot. I didn't even know it, girl. In my mind, I thought you made like 50 grand out here messing with teeth. Like, she's like, no, when I graduate, like, it's a real thing. Like, you make a lot of money as a dentist. And I was like, why am I out here grinding, man? Forget this. I'm out here doing these little concerts for $500, man. Please, man, my little gas money, I am retiring. So that was literally, became my running joke. Like, I'm retiring. Like, I'll be a stay-at-home dad. I ain't got no insecurities. I'll stay at home, play video games. You go out and get these ducats. Like, hey, it's just what it is. Like, it ain't no need me out here grinding. And I mean, I was cool with that. It's hilarious. And then right before, right around her graduation is when we had the miracle baby. And then so she wanted to be home a year to take care of Jace because he was, 2 pounds when he was born and, 3 months early. So she wanted to be home and take care of him for a year and get him developed. And so within that year, man, everything just started popping off, and it popped off at a speed that it was like, eventually it was like, hey, you really don't have to work, baby. So she went to work for like, I don't know, maybe I think 2 years ago she might have worked for like 4 months, and that's the most she's worked. And she graduated 6 years ago. So in 6 years, she's worked as a dentist about 4 months. So
I was gonna say, please say worked as a dentist, because
as a dentist, yeah.
I messed up and said my wife don't work. Boy, I'm just not getting over that. And that was years.
No, yeah. No, as a dentist. But she just wanted to make sure she still had the skills, and she went in for a little bit. And she's like, I don't, maybe this is a part of my journey. Maybe God wants me to do something to open up a practice in the future. But right now, I feel like I'm supposed to focus on the family and focus on church. And I mean, she, we pastor here in Columbia. I mean, she's the one. She's way more anal than I am. She pays attention to detail. She has more patience, and I got a degree in business, but she's a better business person than I am in terms of like, I mean, she's a rock star. So she's the executive pastor at a church, and she runs it, and she has a booming, amazing women's ministry. And so she's busy. She wouldn't even be able to practice dentistry right now if she wanted to. So, but it was just funny how it all played out to where, she ended up not even having to do it.
Praise God, man. Okay. So y'all are all married and you're doing well now. Tell me what's the thing, because most of the time, and maybe if you're like me, you're doing well, but then you hit a wall. And it's nothing that you feel like you didn't sin and hit the wall. You didn't mess up and hit the wall. You just hit the wall because it was time for you to hit the wall. So you have been seeing the peaks and glory to glory. And to your point, which is a great analogy, there was something that you needed in the valley, and something happened that took you to the valley, because that's just where your lesson was, because you can learn some things in the rain that you can't learn in the sunshine. So
that's right, sir.
Tell me about that.
Yeah. You want to know about the wall?
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, there's a couple of them. I think the first wall was in the valley. It was learning contentment. I never had a drug addiction or alcohol addiction or you know, most of the big addictions that we talk about in church. That was never my testimony, but I did have an addiction to ambition. So my addiction was, hey, I'm gonna make it by any means necessary, and I was bound by this desire to be desired. I was bound by this trying to um, get people to see me and to notice me. And I mean, all of that, a synonym for all of that is just, I was just thirsty. So, you know, kind of making a fool of myself, trying to just.
But it hides so well, though. It hides so well because these are all the things you have to do to further your career. So, quite frankly, hey, ain't nobody mad because you're kind of moving, but you know the spirit of it. Yeah, this is good, man.
Yeah. I think I think what it comes down to, man, is a lack of trust. I think one of the greatest proofs of trust is rest, right? If God's going to do it, he's going to do it. And I'm not purporting like a spirit of laziness. I think you still grind, but you grind within parameters. You grind based off of an instruction, not based off of manipulation or based off of wrong motivation. And so for me, it was, man, what do you want, God? And if there's a season where you just want me to be still, if there's a season you just want me to put my head down and serve at this church, there's a season where you just want me to focus on family, me being okay with that. Because if I'm bound by money, or if I'm bound by being successful or famous, that's something that you never get over. And it's nothing worse than someone who's made it. Like I know gospel legends who still wrestle with it. And I just think, man, that's tragic. Like, man, you've accomplished everything and you still are searching for validation. Like, that's a place I don't want to be in my 50s. So for me, man, God delivered me from it. He came for it. He exposed it. And in the valley is where he made me contend with this wicked spirit of wanting the glory for me. You know, it's Luciferic. So it's very subtle to your point, but it's, hey, I want the shine. Hey, I want the fame. Hey, I want to be seen. I want to be known. It's very subtle, but you got to check it. And so that's where, when I had nothing, where he really came for that stuff. And I'm gonna tell you another indicator that this is a battle is when you battle jealousy. When it's hard for you to applaud someone else's success, who's doing what you want to do, that's when you know it's a problem. And for me, there were other artists that, you know, some that I had started out with, some that, you know, I may have even grown up with, that were like taking off. Because a lot of people don't know, but me and Tasha and Molly, we're all from like the same, you know, my college days, we're all around the block from each other. You know what I'm saying? So it's like we're all doing these little college shows and doing these little engagements together, and, you know, all this stuff, you know, that back in 2006, you know what I mean? 2007, you know, this is a grip ago, and we all getting out, and then, you know, everybody's popping off, you know, Tasha pops off, you know, Molly pops off, you know, and so, and I'm broke in North Carolina in this little crappy apartment, and I'm like, well, God, we all got prophesied to, like people said stuff over me too, like, when's my turn? And, you know, I was being depressed when I go to YouTube or go to MySpace back then and seeing, you know, everybody else like making and everybody else fulfilling a dream. And God confronted that and said, hey, man, you're not ready. As long as you are coveting, as long as you have jealousy in your heart, until you can find contentment, until you can be honest about, hey, I'm good, God. If you do nothing else, I'm grateful and I'm good. Until you arrive there, man, don't, you know, you're not ready. And so that was the major wall for me, man. And I felt like I got to a place probably around 2014 where I was like, I'm good, man. Like, I don't, and I think that's the thing that people see on me. I hope they do anyway, is just like, man, this dude is carefree. Like, he ain't like kicking down. It's just like, you know, if it happens, it happens. If I win, I win. If I don't, I don't. Like, I'm not looking at the charts. I'm not, you know, I ain't sitting at the Stellars with my fingers crossed, like, please call my name. I'm not, you know, I attended the Grammys the first time I've been nominated. I've been nominated 4 times and I never went back. So it's just like, if if it happens, it happens. But I can't, and I put my own parameters. I'm not trying to sound like this super safe guy. I'm human, but I put barriers in place so that I don't get it bent or twisted about what this is about. I stay true to the art. And it was that wall that made that possible for me of, man, I'm good with God. Sorry, I just feel like I went on a tangent, but that was the first and major wall. That was the first and major hurdle for me, I think, being trusted with what God has entrusted me with.
Man up now, man up.
I'm KD Bowe. Time now for your man up moment. The example that you set, the impact that you have on society, your house, your community goes beyond what you say. Hear me, goes beyond what you say. St. Francis of Assisi said this: preach the gospel at all times. When necessary, use words. Probably heard that before. Thought your pastor said it. He didn't. St. Francis of Assisi said it. But what it means is this: it's not just about preaching a sermon or speaking a sermon. It's about being the sermon. If I were deaf and couldn't hear you, I should still be able to understand your sermon and your message loud and clear. I should know who you are without question, crystally clear. So my brother, in this man up moment, I want to suggest that the meat of your message should be in your actions. And your words should simply be the icing on top that confirms it. For weekly motivation, text the word brothers to 56525.
11 o'clock on Sunday morning, when thousands of Christians all over the United States stand to sing "In Christ There Is No East or West," we stand in the most segregated hour of America.
We're awakening to the fact that the accomplishments of the civil rights movement were a beginning, not an end.
We should be able to say, this is where I have sinned against my brother, against my sister.
I think this whole element of racism is a reality of life. Being racist is something we need to change.
Even though the church in many times has been complicit in the racial divide, let's be honest about that. The church is the way back.